Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's truly an honor to share stage with such exemplary individuals in front of a distinguished audience like yours. Today, as we speak, I want to start with something very interesting. Right now, as we are talking, around the world, there are new ideas being born. There are new companies being registered. There are new patents being filed at this very moment. We are truly living in special times. And you wouldn't believe me, so I have the data to back me. So the reality is what I was saying, that we live in special times. According to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, in the month of November alone, around 14,321 new companies were registered. That means from an idea stage to registration of your idea happened in 30 days. On an average, 477 new companies were registered. At the same time, this does not deny the fact that there were at least 24,000 companies that shut down in 2021 alone. This data does not include the companies like partnership firms. It does not include companies that exist in an unorganized sector or are at an early stage. 90% of the startups, which I am one of them, that 90% of the startups that are ever created fail within the first 5 years. Hopefully I don't fail, but it's a reality. That's why this line, there's a common line which we always hear, that is more dash fail than dash that succeed. The thing is, you can add anything. In my college days, I had an inertia for change. I would take any possible idea that anybody would have, including myself, and put it into this. You want to be an athlete? More athletes fail than athletes that succeed. You want to be an artist? More artists fail than artists that succeed. You want to be an entrepreneur? More entrepreneurs fail than entrepreneurs that succeed. I thought I was a statistical genius for figuring this out. But I was fortunately wrong. I say fortunately because I understood that. The reality is, what I was lacking was the perspective to look at this. See, the thing is that change happens. Trying is a rather simple concept. It's a concept that everybody understands. This line here is true. It happens all the time. Societies know it, governments know it, companies know it. That no new significant change can happen without fresh attempts. And some things are bound to fail in that process. The importance is that we look at it with a perspective. What happens is that in most cases, when you set out to build anything, the people around you or you yourself have very important reasons on why you should not do it. This I call is a drug of rational inaction. We are intelligent beings. We evaluate our risks. We try to understand the outcome of our actions before the action itself. That has saved our species. If we didn't evaluate risks, we would be jumping out of airplanes without parachutes just to find ourselves. I wouldn't recommend you to do that, but it's important. It's almost like an evolutionary defense mechanism that we've built. It's a necessary evil. But the reason I call it a drug is because I was addicted to it. There's a very thin and a narrow line between necessary action, that is minimizing your risk, to going into the rabbit hole of inaction. Because very quickly, you would not think of taking an action because you have so many good reasons why you shouldn't. It could be your social circumstances, your ground realities, your financial conditions, anything. But the importance is that we get past this. So for starters, why does this happen? It happens primarily because we are attached. I was attached. I was attached to every outcome of the action that I set out to do. Now, the thing is, if you notice, that we almost live in the present to predict our futures. Anything we do, we need to know if it's going to succeed or fail. We have measurable metrics that define whether something is going to be successful, and the lack of it means that it's doomed to fail. It's very clear in our minds. Yet, when we set out to do, we do this because we believe that we can predict the future. We see that in our machines. Today, every single machine is operating on a closed control system. You have an input, you set that input. You know parameters that affect the process. and you know the function that will lead to the output, any machine. That output gives you a feedback. That feedback helps you identify the error, reduce margins, set a tolerance band. We have built efficient machines. We have end-to-end control. And we want that end-to-end control in our lives as well. I wanted that as well. And the reality is that, like Mr. Pawan said, humans are not machines. Humans are different. Our lives, even more so. The thing is, when you set out to do anything, you will find two perspectives. We take action based on our perspectives. It can be good or bad. Whatever it may be, our actions are based only on our perspectives. And you'll meet two kinds of people. Generally, you could be one of them as well. You could be a rosy-eyed optimist or a stubborn pessimist. I was a stubborn pessimist. So we'll not talk about me, we'll talk about these optimists. What's wrong with them? For that, we'll have to roll back the clock. And I'm getting somewhere, bear with me. That we'll have to go back in time, and around it's the late 1990s. The internet is the new buzzword. Everyone is excited about the future. Money is pouring in. VC firms, investors, it's the best time to launch a company because the money is pouring in. Startups, internet companies with little to no profitability are going public. They are having IPOs every day, and the retail investors don't seem to have a problem because everyone had predicted the future. They knew what was coming and they wanted to get onto that action. So what happened was that this led to the stock markets to surge. They surged to a peak. The Nasdaq peaked at around 5,048 points. Yeah, the Nasdaq peaked. But what happened was that everyone was excited about the future. But the present eventually caught on. People realized that in the process of being excited for the future, they lost sight of their present. The present caught on. The reality is that to reach to any future outcome, you have to live in your present. And sometimes, loss-making companies are not going to get you to the future. So this led to the bubble to burst. The markets crashed by 77% in the coming quarters. This led to layoffs. Hundreds and thousands of people lost their jobs. Companies got shut. But the important thing to note here is none of those optimistic experts or investors were wrong. They were absolutely right about the internet. The internet was the future. We're living examples of it. But what they were wrong was to be excited and go to that future, you need to live in your present. And that is a more important thing. What I'm coming to is that this attachment of ours, this attachment to the future, this end-to-end control that we desire has often led us to do irrational things, although we are very rational. It has often led us to get excited for things that are too early to be excited for. Is that none of them were wrong about it. They were right that you need to you need to get forward, you need to build new things. They were right about the internet. But sometimes optimism doesn't cut it. Optimism didn't save their jobs. Optimism didn't save their companies. Does that mean pessimists are right? Does that mean the stubborn pessimist, that stubborn Shubhankar in college was right? Absolutely not. If these pessimists were right, we would still be living in our caves. This hall wouldn't have existed and we would still be hunting and gathering. And a great example of why to prove these people who think nothing can change is India. And in India, a very special organization that has really motivated me is ISRO. You see, under the leadership of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, India set out to launch its space research program. You need to understand this was around 1962-63. These were times when India was a young nation. India didn't have that financial power, not that technical prowess. And by that time, America and the Soviet Union had already sent people into space. Clearly, the odds were not in our favor. We were not in that position to compete with anybody. But what happened was that didn't stop the spirit. ISRO was built. ISRO was built and it succeeded. From using cycles to transport their parts for their first sounding rocket, the first rocket launch in '63 from a small Tumba village which lied on the Earth's magnetic equator, ideal location for the launch. We used cycles. For a large period of time, this struggle existed with ISRO. We also used bullock carts to conduct thermal tests for our first communication satellite. What I'm telling you is, if ISRO could bootstrap its way into outer space, you can too. It's very much possible. And today, ISRO has set an example for the entire world. A country who everyone thought that this space research program, even the attempt of it, is doomed for failure, led into turning into one of the most successful space research organizations. Today, ISRO has impacted all our lives. We don't even understand it. From geographical data, mapping, to communications, defense, it's everywhere. And imagine if they were pessimistic about it. What would have India been? Imagine if they didn't take that step of launching. So what I'm coming to this is that throughout human history, we have had exceptional examples where there's a dichotomy of unbelievable success and unexpected failure. Our measurable metrics fail us time and again. So what is that secret sauce? What is that immeasurable metric that defines the difference between success and failure? What I believe is, it's the people. It's you and me. It's the people who have the courage to take the first step. It's the people who have detached themselves from this whirlwind of predicting the future. These people are truly free. They're free from the fear of judgment. They're free from the fear of failure. They're free from even the anxiety of success. Nothing burdens them. The only thing that they do is the work they've set out to do. And one more important thing is persistence. Persistence is very important. Persistence is important at a social level. I say this because we need to encourage people around us to take the first step. It's crucial. The companies that survived the dot-com bubble were neither the first nor perfect at what they did, but they grew with time. And we need to give that persistence, and persistence comes with experience and time. Give it time. Don't get on to the hurry of predicting the future. I was in that hurry and I took no action. People are in a hurry and they don't evaluate the risk. Detach from this burden of outcomes. What's more important is, which I would have liked to tell myself, is that the world around us has changed. It has changed very quickly. What was science fiction until a few decades ago is a reality today. The internet has been the pinnacle of that change. And things have changed very quickly, from analog devices to billions of transistors on tiny chipsets in your phones. All of this change has not happened because of one exceptional person or one exceptional company which checked all the boxes of measurable metrics. It had happened because of a persistent species. We try. We thrive because we try. And it's crucial. So in the end, I would like to say that whatever you're trying to set out to do, take that first step. Take that courage to take that step and build something. And even if you don't have an idea what you want to do, go out and help someone take that first step. Because it's very important. Who knows, you might change the world. And even if you don't, you would still be doing humanity a favor. Because if nobody ever tried, nothing would ever succeed. If nobody ever tried, nothing would ever succeed. So thank you, and thank you very much.